Right. I understand now, Mr. Rudd. The whole thing is really very simple. So simple, one just couldn't see it.
What can I do for you, Miss Marple?
Thank you so much for seeing me.
This is really not the best time.
Ah. An inspector calls. Out flew the net and floated wide. The mirror cracked from side to side. "The curse has come upon me," cried the Lady of Shalott. That's how Dolly Bantry described it. The look on your wife's face. Although actually she misquoted. She said doom instead of curse. Perhaps a better word in the circumstances. On the day of the party, while Heather Badcock was talking to your wife, Marina was not looking at her, but at that picture. And though there was doom foreshadowed in your wife's face, it was not on her the doom would fall. It was Heather Badcock who was doomed from the moment she started talking.
I don't follow.
Why should you? No one has told you exactly what she said.
But they have, Miss Marple, over and over again.
But not the crucial phrase, because no one thought it was important.
I was just a girl, absolutely thrilled at the prospect of seeing you in the flesh. I've always been the most huge fan, but the most ridiculous thing was on that day, I went down with the temperature and the doctor said I couldn't go.
What a pity.
Can you imagine my disappointment, Miss Gray?
What did the doctor say it was?
German measles. I wasn't feeling really ill. I only had this little rash on my cheek, so I said to myself, I won't be beaten. I got up, slapped some makeup on and went along. I am so pleased that I made the effort. Oh.
German measles?
That is correct, isn't it, Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
A very slight illness, really. A rash, a little fever, but extremely infectious. And if a woman contracts it in the early stages of pregnancy, the consequences can be devastating. I think I'm right in saying your wife had a child who was born greatly damaged, and that she's never really recovered from the shock.
She never knew how or when or from whom she'd...
Until the day of the party, when a perfectly strange woman came up those stairs and told her. Imagine what that moment meant for Marina. For years she'd nursed a kind of hatred for this unknown person who'd caused her tragedy. And suddenly she meets that person face to face. A person who seemed so happy and carefree, pleased with herself. It was more than she could bear. Had she had time to think, to calm herself? But she didn't. She always had her pills with her, so it was very easy to do. She put the stuff into her own glass, and if by any chance anyone noticed, they wouldn't have thought anything of it, having seen her take them before. She managed to jog Heather Badcock's arm so that she spilt her drink.
Don't worry, it's only a shenanigan.
And that was where the confusion lay. Now, I only had the account of what Primrose Dixon reported to Cherry. She said how funny it was that she seemed to spill the drink on purpose.
Yes.
But the she that Primrose referred to was not Heather Badcock, but Marina Gregg. It was really the perfect murder.
Have this, why don't you? I haven't touched it yet.
Oh, I couldn't.
Please do. I've had far too much already.
She wanted Heather Badcock dead. And a few minutes later, she was. But then she was afraid someone had seen, and could see only one way out, to insist that the murder had been aimed at her. She gave the performance of her life. Jason! And only one person saw through it.
This is only a theory.
But you know it's the truth, don't you, Mr. Rudd? You know because you knew from the first.
Can you imagine my disappointment, Miss Gregg?
What did the doctor say it was?
German measles. I didn't feel really ill.
She would go to any lengths to prove that she was the intended victim, even down to doctoring her own coffee. That was her, wasn't it, Mr. Rudd? Yes, I thought so. You were frantic to protect her, but you didn't realize how much you would have to protect her from. It's not only a question of hushing up one death, but also the death of Ella Blunt, who finally found the right person to blackmail, thanks to Primrose Dixon.
I saw you do it. I saw you put the tablets in the glass.
I'm very sorry for you, Mr. Rudd. The agony you've been through because you care for her so much.
Mr. Rudd, I need to speak to your wife.
I'm afraid that won't be possible.
It's all over, sir. You can't make excuses for her any longer. Now, where can I find her?
In her bedroom, Inspector. She died last night. In her sleep.
An overdose?
That's right.
Was it an accident?
In my opinion, yes.
But it could be suicide.
It could, but it's most unlikely.
Or someone could have given it to her.
It's almost impossible to prove.
Doctor.
No. Excuse me.
Such a beautiful creature, and such a wonderful gift. How sad that she couldn't let go of the past and see the future as it really was. It's very fortunate she took an overdose. Death was really the only escape left. Yes, Mr. Rudd. Very fortunate indeed.
She was so lovely. And she had suffered so much.